Castor oil goes deeper than most people expect. Where it's applied, people often describe a gradual softening in how the area feels over time, even adhesion that's been sitting there for a long time. If something has been there for a long time, the response tends to be slower and more gradual. If it's been there 3 months, maybe 3 weeks, and if it's only been a few weeks, sometimes just a few days, so the timeline changes depending on how long it's been building. Now, here's the part that surprises most people. What we're talking about today isn't complicated at all. It's a very simple, natural combination, just two ingredients that are probably already in your kitchen: castor oil and baking soda. Together, this blend shows up across a wide range of everyday uses. I've spent years looking into natural remedies like this, and I'm still struck by how often something simple ends up being this effective. If you want more breakdowns like this, go ahead and hit subscribe and like the video. Let's get into it. What makes this combination stand out is how the two sides work together. Castor oil carries a high amount of ricinoleic acid, and that's been linked to anti-inflammatory effects. It's been used for a very long time in natural approaches, mainly because it feeds and supports the tissue it comes into contact with. Baking soda works differently. It leans alkaline, so it helps offset excess acidity and calm irritated areas. That becomes more relevant when inflammation is part of the picture. Put the two together and the effect shifts. It's not just one direction. It can be applied across skin, joints, muscles, and more. On the skin side, this is where it becomes more noticeable. Castor oil brings in fatty acids that help the skin stay flexible. It also supports the outer barrier, which matters when the skin is dry, stretched, or slightly damaged. You'll see it used for things like stretch marks or small surface cuts. There's also a link to collagen activity. When collagen production is supported, the surface tends to look smoother and older marks may soften over time. Baking soda adds a different layer. It gently clears away dead skin sitting on top. That speeds up how the skin renews itself so the oil can work more effectively underneath. Both of them also carry antimicrobial properties, so when you're dealing with small cuts or irritated spots, the area stays cleaner while it recovers. The way it's used stays simple. You take 1 teaspoon of castor oil and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, mix them into a paste, and place it directly on the area you're working on. That could be dry skin, a scar, or a minor wound. Let it sit for about 15 minutes, then rinse it off with warm water. Kept consistent, people tend to notice gradual changes in texture, tone, and how the skin holds up day to day. That same combination shows up in how the body handles physical discomfort. Castor oil carries that ricinoleic acid into the area, and it's often associated with reducing swelling while calming the tissue around it. The effect isn't just surface level. It tends to settle into the area and support how the body responds there. Baking soda adds a different angle. It's tied to improving local blood flow, which changes how the oil moves through sore or tight muscle. That's where the deeper penetration starts to matter. This pairing comes up often with ongoing issues, things like arthritis or persistent muscle soreness that don't just go away on their own. The way it's applied stays straightforward. Equal parts castor oil and baking soda, mixed into a smooth paste, then work gently into the area that feels tight or painful. No force, just steady pressure. Once it's in place, covering it with a warm cloth for about 30 minutes shifts how it feels. The warmth helps the mixture absorb more fully, and there's usually a noticeable sense of easing in that time. If you want to keep understanding how simple combinations like this interact with the body over time, subscribe now. That same pattern shows up in how the body moves fluid and clears things out. Circulation tends to shift first. When flow improves, oxygen and nutrients reach cells more efficiently, and waste doesn't linger the same way. At the same time, lymphatic movement becomes part of the picture. When that system is more active, the body is better at moving out what it doesn't need. When it slows down, you often see the opposite: swelling, discomfort, that heavy, drained feeling that sticks around. This is where the blend gets used over specific areas. Applied over areas like under the arms or around the groin and worked in with slow, circular motion for a few minutes, It's often used in ways that people associate with a lighter, less congested feeling. The digestive side follows a similar direction. Castor oil has a long history tied to supporting bowel movement and easing constipation. Baking soda moves in the other direction, helping neutralize excess stomach acid and settle bloating. Together, they're often used in ways that people associate with digestive comfort. That's where it shows up with things like gas, fullness, or irregular patterns. There's also a small internal use mentioned. Some mentions include internal use, but that's not a general approach and is typically discussed with a healthcare professional before being considered. Topically, it stays simple. The same mixture applied over the abdomen, then covered with a warm cloth for about 30 minutes. The heat shifts how it absorbs and tends to bring a more noticeable sense of ease while it sits there. That same surface level use shows up when dealing with fungal issues. Both ingredients carry antimicrobial traits, so they're often used together for things like athlete's foot or nail fungus. The way they act isn't identical. Castor oil moves into the skin and starts working through the outer layers that protect the fungus. Baking soda shifts the environment around it, making it harder for that growth to continue. Used together, the goal is to both break it down and limit how it spreads. The application stays consistent with the earlier approach, equal parts castor oil and baking soda mixed into a smooth paste, then placed directly over the affected area so it's fully covered. That sits there for about 20 to 30 minutes before being rinsed off with warm water. And it's not a one time thing, it's typically repeated twice a day until the area clears. That same blend circles back into lymphatic support again, just from a slightly different angle. Castor oil is described as activating lymphatic movement, which ties into how the body handles waste and toxins. Baking soda adds to that by helping maintain a more balanced internal environment, which affects how efficiently that process runs. Applied over areas like the neck, under the arms, or around the groin, and worked in gently for about 10 to 15 minutes, it's meant to keep that flow active before being rinsed off. That same approach carries over when the skin is reacting on the surface. With insect bites or irritated patches, castor oil tends to settle things down. It hydrates, takes some of the edge off the inflammation, and supports the skin as it recovers. Baking soda works from another angle, helping offset the acids that drive that itching and irritation. Used together, it's a simple layer over the area. A small amount placed directly onto the bite or the irritated spot, left in place long enough for it to sit into the skin. For rashes, that usually means around 15 to 20 minutes before rinsing it off with cool water. The same blend shifts into longer term marks as well. When you're dealing with scars, stretch marks, or uneven tone, castor oil moves deeper. It hydrates below the surface and is tied to collagen activity, which plays a role in how the skin repairs and rebuilds. Baking soda adds that surface turnover again. It clears away dead skin and encourages newer cells to come through, which over time can change how those areas look. That's where it's often used for older marks or discoloration that hasn't changed much on its own. The application follows the same pattern. 1 teaspoon of castor oil, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, mixed into a paste, then worked directly into the area with a light massage. Left in place for about 20 to 30 minutes, then rinsed off with warm water. Repeated daily, it's meant to gradually shift how the skin looks and feels over time. That same balance shows up even when oil itself is part of the problem. Using oil on acne or oily skin doesn't sound intuitive at first, but castor oil behaves differently. Its fatty acids are tied to how oil production is regulated, and it also carries antimicrobial activity that works against the bacteria involved in breakouts. Baking soda shifts the surface again. It clears out pores, lifts away dead skin, and helps keep excess oil from building up. Together, it's applied in a very direct way. Equal parts, mixed into a smooth paste, then placed only where the skin is breaking out. Left there for about 15 to 20 minutes, then rinsed off with warm water. With regular use, the surface tends to feel more balanced rather than overly dry or overly oily. That same pairing moves up into the scalp. Castor oil feeds the hair follicles, while baking soda clears the scalp itself, removing buildup that can interfere with growth or cause irritation. This is where it connects to things like dandruff, itchiness, and overall scalp condition. As time goes on, issues like thinning or breakage tend to show up more often, and the condition of the scalp starts to matter more than people expect. The way it's used follows the same structure. 1 teaspoon of castor oil, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, work through the scalp so everything is covered evenly. Left in place for around 20 minutes, then rinsed out thoroughly. Used about once a week, it's meant to keep both the scalp and hair in better condition over time. That same routine doesn't have to stand on its own. It tends to fit alongside other things people are already doing. Some combine it with essential oils like lavender or tea tree, which are often used for their antimicrobial properties, so the effect layers rather than replaces anything. In a broader routine, when it sits next to a steady diet and regular movement, it's often described as supporting circulation and keeping things moving more evenly over time. The shift there isn't immediate, it builds with consistency. That same blend shows up again with joint stiffness. Castor oil is often treated like a natural lubricant around the joint, helping reduce that tight, resistant feeling, while baking soda is tied to improving local blood flow, which changes how stiffness settles in the area. The way it's used here is slightly more specific. Equal parts again, but usually around a tablespoon of each, worked into the joint for about 10 minutes, enough time for it to settle in. Then a warm towel goes over the area, left there for roughly 30 minutes. The heat changes how it absorbs and tends to make the area feel looser while it sits. Using it before bed comes up often, since that's when the body is already slowing down and the joints are less active. The same mixture shifts again when it's used on the hands and feet. Those areas tend to take more wear, especially when the skin starts to dry or crack. A teaspoon of castor oil mixed with a teaspoon of baking soda worked into rough spots or calloused areas, then left there for about 10 to 15 minutes before rinsing off with warm water. Done a few times a week, it's meant to gradually soften the surface and improve how the skin holds up. That same pattern keeps extending into smaller areas that tend to get overlooked. With nails, the focus shifts to strength and surface condition. Castor oil is often tied to reducing breakage and keeping the nail structure more stable, while the mixture itself helps soften the cuticles around it. A small amount of castor oil, combined with just a pinch of baking soda, is worked into the nails and cuticles, left there for about 10 minutes, then rinsed off. The same blend moves into fine lines as well. On areas like around the eyes or mouth, where the skin tends to crease more easily, it's used to keep the surface hydrated while encouraging ongoing renewal. 1 teaspoon of castor oil mixed with 1 teaspoon of baking soda, applied directly to those lines, left in place for about 15 minutes, then rinsed off. Repeated a few times each week, it's meant to gradually change how that texture looks. For sun-exposed skin, the effect shifts again. Castor oil supports moisture and surface repair, while baking soda brings a cooling quality that helps settle redness and irritation after too much sun. The same combination shows up in oral care too. Baking soda is already known for whitening and neutralizing acids, and when paired with castor oil, there's an added antibacterial layer that's often used around the gums. A small amount applied gently with a soft toothbrush, left for around 2 minutes, then rinsed off. Done a few times a week, it's meant to support gum condition over time. Even something as simple as dry, cracked lips follows the same idea. 1 teaspoon of castor oil with a small pinch of baking soda rubbed lightly over the lips, left there for a few minutes, then wiped away. That's where the limits start to matter just as much as the use itself. Skin that reacts easily needs a slower approach, a small patch test first, just to see how it responds before going further. If there's a history of irritation or allergies, it's something people are told to check with a healthcare provider ahead of time. Open wounds or broken skin are left alone. That combination can irritate those areas rather than help. The same caution carries into specific situations. Pregnancy or breastfeeding is another point where checking in with a doctor comes up before trying anything new. Baking soda, in particular, can shift the skin too far if it's overused. Starting small, watching how the skin reacts, and pulling back right away if there's redness, discomfort, or a burning sensation. The type of oil matters too. Cold pressed castor oil is usually preferred, since more processed versions can carry added ingredients that change how it behaves. Around sensitive areas, especially near the eyes, keeping distance helps avoid irritation. Storage plays a role as well. A cool, dry place, ideally in a darker glass container, helps protect the mixture from light. Smaller batches tend to hold up better over time instead of sitting too long. And across all of this, the timing doesn't rush. These kinds of approaches tend to move gradually. Consistency matters more than intensity, and the response builds over time rather than all at once. Paying attention to how your body responds stays part of the process, and when needed, bringing in professional input keeps things grounded. If this helped you see how these simple combinations are being used, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and share it with someone who might need it.